Hi everyone, good morning. I hope you're all doing well. I'm going to do my triple checking, not only of my hair, but whether or not we are online. Yes, yes. And I love how I can see myself checking my hair out here. Um, I look really pale. There is nothing I can do about this because, in all sincerity, the lighting in our current house, which is a rental, that we are living for a few months is terrible. It's very dark, and every time I unplug my computer, everything gets reset. And for those of you who might be watching this on YouTube, this video goes live inside our Facebook community. It's called QualiQ for Qualitative Minds. And I'm telling them, I can see comments there on my iPad screen. I'm just telling them that I will look like a ghost, and if you think this video is extremely bright and white, just know that I am aware. And when we are in our permanent home as of some point in August, I do plan on addressing that. But for this place that we are living currently, it's just going to be the reality of how things will go, I would say. Oh, I'm actually was planning on moving this lower third. So welcome. This is going to be about navigating teamwork in qualitative research. I have already a really comprehensive and I would say, excellent blog post from the beginning of the year that was developed and written in response to an email that I sent late 2020 asking readers and the community, what do you want me to address in blog posts? Like, what do you want to hear from QualiQ? And navigating teamwork was one of the most commonly responses I received. And it's interesting because that question also comes up in our groups, in the courses, and also with my one-on-one clients. And I provided some strategies that I had used and learned from Maria, who is my former supervisor and mentor. And I say in the blog post that came out yesterday was June 1st, 2021, that blog post has additional insights that I recently learned from Maria. And the additional insights are not too many from what I had included in the original blog post, because I say that I learned from the best, and what I realized is that a lot of the things that she says I had already captured in the blog post that went out in the beginning of this year, 2021. But Maria was invited to our cohort of QRB, Qualitative Research Blueprint. She came and talked to the members, the students that took this course, and they really enjoyed learning from her experience. And two things stood out to me when Maria was sharing her experience, especially in terms of working in teams. And I am here today with really the purpose of sharing some of the things that I learned from her with you. And the things that I learned on that day were really things that maybe I had heard from her, but it was just like a different perspective or more details. And I appreciated them very much. And I am already using one of them in one of the projects that I am involved. And I want to share them with you, because I think they will be valuable, especially to those of you who are working in teams, trying to build capacity among your trainees and research assistants and graduate research assistants. So it's really important for you, but also for those of you who are in those roles that I just mentioned, for you to potentially have those strategies to bring up to a director or a supervisor or someone who might be overseeing the work that you are doing. So I think it serves both sides, and there is definitely a place and space for you to think about what I will share. So the first thing that Maria was discussing was, how do you start on the right foot when you're working with large teams? And I feel like data analysis is one point where the working in teams might be a bit challenging. So what she discussed was a project where different interviewers were conducting interview in different settings, and how at the very beginning of the project they came together and they analyzed a number of interviews from the different sites. So people who had conducted interview in site A were also analyzing interviews conducted by other team members in site B and C. And they didn't do that for all the participants, but for the first few, and you could even say for the first in each setting. And they each coded those interviews separately on their own, and then they came together and compared their codes and emerging categories. And with that coming together, they developed a code book, and that code book was then used later on as they conducted more interviews. They revisited, added, dropped codes and categories in that code book, had to really refine what those codes and categories meant for each team member, but they had that starting point. And I think that's really valuable, because the starting point usually is important even to trigger reflection and changes throughout the project. With a starting point that is laid on paper, that is written, you might be more prepared to discuss things that might need to be discussed, acknowledged, and potentially changed throughout the research process. With my colleague and partner in this one project that we are conducting, she introduced me to a program called Mural. It's spelled MURAL. And we might collaborate with one board in that software. So we can actually do our code books and have our code book and have our initial codes and categories there, so we can both see and start working together. So it's also important to understand that that sharing might happen in person, it might happen now online, most likely still, and you could use an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document, or there is another one that I forget from Coffee, Letter and Latte that I have recommended before, Scapple. Or you could use this other one that I just mentioned, Mural, to collaborate. And it's a starting point, and it's important to have that. That was one of the things that Maria shared. The other thing that Maria shared that I found very important is the research question. And that was fascinating to me as well. I feel like Maria is amazing in being practical and like really level-headed in many ways, and I think that comment of hers in keep your research question in front of you on a sticky note and know what you set out to do in the first place when you're working as a team is important. And the reality is, I think a lot of times one of the reasons why we might get confused, overwhelmed with our qualitative data is because there is so much. And when you have this large amount of data that has really sometimes incredible details from our participants, it's really easy to feel pulled in different directions, to find yourself looking at the data and saying, wow, I could look at this, like this would be so interesting. And there might be room and space for that, where you put something into an abstract, you present parts of your data here and there, but you need to keep it in mind, what is the research question that I set out to answer what was the overall purpose of my study when I started on this journey. The reason why Maria emphasized the importance of the research question was also because when working as a team, you will fall in love with your data, as she says, and each of you as a team member will have a different paradigm, potentially a different lens, potentially different backgrounds, and that data will pull you in different directions. And when she shared that, she made it very clear that staying close to your research question might also be important to avoid having problems in finding the direction to go when you are about to write your findings and to try to publish your work. So for those of you who are working in teams and doing teamwork in a qualitative research project that perhaps is even in a more sensitive area, or dealing with groups that deal with a lot or cope with a lot of adversities, it is really important to know what is your research question and to also acknowledge those around the table. Who are they? Where are they coming from? What are their paradigms or the theories that are really important to them, the lens that they bring? So those two things are somewhat connected to your research question and to things that you really need to keep in mind as you were moving through your qualitative research project. So those two insights were the ones that I really took away from the session we had with Maria, and they are the ones that I explained in detail yesterday in the blog post. But keep it in mind that if you are one who is like, I really need to know how to work better in my team and to collaborate in a more positive way with others in this project that I'm involved, don't forget that this blog post, the one that went out yesterday, June 1st, builds a lot on what was said and written by me back in January. So make sure you go back to that and that you read those two. And if you have any questions, you know where and how to find me. And please add any questions that you might have. Hopefully by now you have realized how much what you say as part of the community, like how much the community members, the people that watch these videos and respond to us, how much you shape what we do moving forward. So if you have any additional comments, questions, or feedback, we are here and we do listen to you. Next week, I think you will find this one interesting. We will continue in this vein of relationships and teamwork, and we will be exploring a bit of the supervisory role. So what does it mean to supervise and be supervised when conducting qualitative research? And I think you will find that one very interesting too. So have an excellent week. And for those of you who are somewhere warm, enjoy the summer months. And I'll be talking to you soon. Bye. Bye for now.